Well, as you can see, Barry Murphy rejoins us. That possibly means we've got an issue about gas, and of course we have. I mean, the whole world is now into some sort of amazing situation with gas prices tripling, whatever, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I've heard you on the radio. You're definitely on top of this one. So what updates can you tell us about where we are here in the island?
Well, the last time I came to see you, I think I told you it was going to be the last time I was going to be in talking about gas.
Didn't want to mention that, but yeah, it was. But things have changed.
Yeah, they have, and since then I set about. I put this picture on the gas customers working group Facebook page, which was basically a curtain closed. I thought we were all done and dusted, and I actually asked and sort of requested that some members leave the group, because I sincerely thought that everything we had to do was done and dusted. I genuinely did, and then since I seen you last, I've become a Kurt Michael commissioner, and not here representing that today. I'm here simply as the gas consumer group admin. But I've had a lot going on, and I genuinely thought I was done and dusted with it. But then hit the news last week. So I did. I was invited to see Mr. Cruddas, David Cruddas, who was the former CEO of Manx Gas. I'm not sure if David still has a position there right now, but I did see David Cruddas probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and I went there with a completely different agenda back then, which was simply to try to find out whether or not Manx Gas were going to pay back their share of the repayments that were promised going back to 2020, 2021.
Hundreds of pounds a person, well, per household.
Yeah, it was £100 each, £100 for 2020, £100 for 2021, and Mr. Cruddas reminded me at the time that because a voluntary deal had been signed as opposed to, a regulatory route we had gone down a regulatory route as opposed to gone down a voluntary route, that Manx Gas weren't going to pay back any money.
How was that definite then?
That's not coming back.
Only if it had been voluntarily agreed, they would have.
You knew that. I think I could remind you, but I think you did know that.
I wasn't sure where we were up to on that one. So I thought it was outstanding still up in the air, but you definitely had it confirmed. Yeah, that's off the table now.
There's been a lot going on. I mean, so I had that meeting, and I came out of there, and in fairness, at that time I was fairly sort of convinced in my mind that there wasn't really a great deal more I could do. Cura, of course, Communications Utilities Regulatory Authority now firmly in place. They're undergoing consultation for gas regulation for the future. It's already widely thought that the future WACC, weighted average return on profit, is going to be something like 4.49 for memory, and there's going to be a 2% maximum on profits on the retail side, which I've been told by somebody who's better at numbers than I am, which equates to roughly around about 5.49% profit margin for the future, which compared to 9.99, of course, was a pretty good bonus. So I'd kind of decided really and truly at this stage I should step back. Cura should carry on, and that's what we should do.
But the world's moved on since then.
But the world has moved on. And when I spoke to Mr. Cruddas at the time, he had said to me that the wholesale markets had started to rise, and they were becoming worrying at that time. He didn't know what way they were going to go. I didn't go into any great conversations about numbers or anything like that, but since that time it's become apparently clear that there's actually, you could probably go as far as to say that there's actually an emergency situation regarding wholesale prices right now.
Which about tripling in price.
Yeah, I mean, I have got the numbers sort of written down, but to give you an idea, they yesterday a therm of gas was costing £4 odd or something per therm of gas, whereas today, since Mr. Putin has stepped in and opened up the European pipelines, apparently now they're down to about £2.30. Yeah. So that's good news, but unfortunately £2.30 is a long way off from 50p, which is where they were around about this time last year, at the beginning of this year. So we have a situation, unfortunately, where it seems where Manx Gas is now making a loss at selling gas, and Cura have had to revisit the price freeze. So we had a price freeze put in place at the beginning of this year. And because the wholesale prices have escalated beyond what they consider to be like a threshold or a cap, which I think the cap from memory was 10%, but don't quote me on that. They've gone over that. So at that point in time, Manx Gas were entitled to ask for an increase, and they have done. They've gone back to Cura. They've requested an increase. We know now that
we've seen that in the public.
We have, and that's fair that Manx Gas can do that. Cura had to then look at what they could do with that, and that they've gone back to the new government and have said, we want you to vote.
That's going to be signed off though, yeah, by the government vote?
Yes, so Cura have said that in order for Manx Gas just to continue, from what I understand, this is not to allow Manx Gas to make a profit, but for Manx Gas to just continue to actually be able to just operate at some kind of a level playing field, they're requesting 27% increase across the domestic tariff range. And since I came to see you today, so I've had some conversations with very sort of important people, if you like, in the world of politics on the Isle of Man in the last week, and you know, I've given my opinion on what can be done and what can't be done. I have ideas on what I think can be done and what the government should be doing, although I think there's limitations on that as well.
And you contacted Manx Gas, obviously. You seem to be talking as if you
know
something about them.
I'm very fortunate, really, in the respect that somehow for 6 years, even though I have probably been a bit of a thorn in the side, because you know what, you've been we've protested on the streets and we've marched up and down the streets, and I've run petitions and everything else, which I'm pleased I have done. But Manx Gas still welcome to speak to me. I've just come out of a meeting with Manx Gas now.
You've actually who asked for the meeting? You or them?
Manx Gas asked for the meeting about a week ago, maybe a little bit less. I've met the new CEO, very nice lady called Jo Cox.
Right, now I've got a request in for an interview with her.
Okay.
We're not sure we're going to get it, but she's now running it then, is she? Or that's who you're dealing with?
From what I understand, like I don't get too bogged down on positions and titles and everything else. But from what I understand, Mr. Cruddas has stepped to one side. I don't know if he's still involved somewhere along the way with Ankara or with IG. I don't know. I don't ask them kind of questions. But Jo Cox is now the CEO, and Sarah Jarvis was also at that meeting today, and Sarah, from what I understand, is taking a very keen role in public relations.
All right, I'm dealing with people from Jersey, I think, so I'll be getting onto.
Well, maybe Sarah could be your port of call. So I mean, it was a very helpful meeting. I was in there for an hour and a half. We discussed a whole load of different issues and things, and I made it very clear to Manx Gas that I thought they had a real poor public relation image. And I actually went as far as to say that I'm probably about the only person who ever does anything to try and improve that for them. And I think they agree. It's up to them if they don't, but that's my opinion on it. And I completely stated I am just a gas customer. Yes, I run a Facebook group. I have 2 accounts with Manx Gas, and I'm been pretty cheesed off for a very long time that I seem to be paying the amount of money that I do for gas. But that's by the by. We spoke briefly about the 50% of a refund rebate for 2020, 2021, like we mentioned a couple of minutes ago in this interview.
£100?
Yes, but it was originally supposed to be approximately 50% from government and 50% from Manx Gas. But Manx Gas had, as we said a little while ago, had only agreed that they would pay that back if there was another voluntary deal signed in 2020 by the end of. But there wasn't. So here we are right now. Manx Gas have made it clear they're not paying it back. I've also told Manx Gas today, in my opinion, that they should have come forward. They should have done a media interviews with you or Manx Radio or somebody else to say that this is not what we're doing, because I explained as well there's confusion regarding the regulatory adjustment figures that were paid back. Many customers have just received sums between £1.50 and £3.50 refunds, and many of them are confused that was this other refund that was promised. It isn't. It's absolutely nothing.
They haven't put their head above the parapet for a long time, actually.
They haven't.
About it.
They haven't.
And this is put down as bad PR, basically.
Yes.
That they should have been more communicative with everyone, especially their customers.
They should, and I have told them that, and I think that they agree with that. And,
Right, well, Joe Cox, I'm looking forward to talking to you then, obviously, because this is interesting.
So what I just want to say, just on the with the refund. So the refund was split into two parts. This is very important because my reason for being here today hasn't changed really from any other time that I've ever been here. My sole purpose is, or was, to bring down the cost of gas for customers, particularly domestic customers here on the Isle of Man.
But that's out now.
That's still
in the short term.
That's still the overall.
But in the short term,
we're not going to have that. That's still. If I was throwing darts and that was the bullseye, that's what I'm aiming for.